Hey guys, so there's been a lot of talk about President Trump maybe possibly flipping some states on this electoral map. He might win Arizona back, maybe he might win North Carolina, he might win Florida, he might win back Ohio, which is surprising to say because Ohio is a state that Biden currently is leading in. But it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, these states do not matter. And the only three states that matter in this election that are really going to decide it are these states: Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, because these states are polling the best for Joe Biden, and these states are the states that are going to get him over 270 electoral votes. He might win in Florida, he might win in North Carolina, he might win in Arizona, but these three states are going to go for him, way before these other three states. And the state of Nevada is currently a lean state on this map. I did move Alaska from a lean to lightly for my election prediction, just because it really doesn't make sense categorizing Alaska with these other states. But the state of Nevada, I'm going to give to Joe Biden as a likely state just so that we fill it in. And this would give Joe Biden the 332 electoral votes that Clinton had in 2016. So these blue states, these are all the blue states that Clinton won 4 years ago. And just for proof, Nevada polling in favor of Joe Biden by 6.4%. If you don't know why I put it in the likely column or the lean column, he's doing pretty well here and basically led in every single poll this entire election cycle. And then looking at the numbers here, currently President Trump 125. He carried every single gray state on this map 4 years ago. Every single one of these gray states, they voted for President Trump. Arizona 3.6%. Texas, 8%, Iowa, 9%, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, all less than 1%, Ohio, 8%, North Carolina, 3%, Georgia, 6%, Florida, 1.2%. These states all went to the president 4 years ago. All of these states. He won 306 electoral votes. He also won, of course, the 2nd District of Maine and Nebraska. So he did very well in 2016. I'm gonna give it to him because I did not expect to win these many states 4 years ago. I personally did expect him to lose the election. But these states currently, they've moved so much to the left from 2016. Iowa is now polling in favor of Trump, a state that he won by 9%, by just 2%. Texas won it by 8%, which was already half of Mitt Romney's margin in 2012. He won by 60% over Barack Obama in 2012, but the state of Texas voted for Donald Trump by just 8%. Now it's polling in favor of him by 2% in Texas, a state that has never gone to the Democratic Party since literally 1976. And then the state of North Carolina. Now, Trump has never led in the state this entire election cycle, nor has he led in Florida, or, he's barely up in Georgia. He's down in Ohio right now. In Arizona, he's never led either. So all these numbers are very positive for Joe Biden. And the reason why I don't think that Joe Biden can lose this election is purely because of his strong grip that he has on the blue wall. These states voted in favor of the Democratic Party for over 2 decades before President Trump was able to break through it in 2016. And I think that this was just a one-in-a-lifetime thing because President Trump, honestly, he is a once-in-a-lifetime candidate like Barack Obama. He is a very special candidate and something that I don't think we're going to see in the near future. Joe Biden, of course, is not, but President Trump does not have his sort of appeal to many voters that he did 4 years ago. Because 4 years ago, he was an outsider. He said he was going to, quote unquote, drain the swamp and remove the corruption that was in Washington. And as an outsider, a lot of people did think that he was going to actually do this. But as you can clearly see that corruption has definitely gotten worse in, Trump's White House compared to Obama's White House, or basically most White Houses before him. His administration has not been too great in terms of being corrupt, and Joe Biden is, I think he's able to resonate more with voters. He seems like more of a genuine person, in my opinion, and I think that he is going to be able to emphasize with more voters and bring them over. And of course, Clinton, she had huge problems too. It's not that Trump was just appealing to many voters that wanted a change in Washington, but Clinton, she was not a good candidate. Okay, she was just way too polarizing. I think that, but if she ran in 2008, she probably would have won against John McCain. And I think that if Hillary Clinton in 2008 ran in 2016, I think she still would have won. Because after being Secretary of State for Barack Obama for 4 years, from 2008 to 2012, I think that really did ruin her reputation as, she had a pretty good reputation as a senator from the state of New York, and as First Lady, she was once the most popular woman in the entire country. And now she's probably one of the most unpopular women in the entire country right now. And Yeah, I think the campaign really did have a huge toll on her popularity, and at the end of it, she was basically one of the most unpopular people in the world, next to Donald Trump. And in 2016, her emails honestly just dragged on with her throughout the entire campaign. She was never really able to get rid of it because they talked about it at basically every debate. There was a question on those emails as more and more emails were coming out showing Clinton, keeping classified information in some not too secure servers. And then, of course, we had the FBI investigation at the very end of the campaign, which honestly, I think that was the final blow to Clinton's campaign. I think that before that, if that never happened, I do think she would have won without that October surprise. But now the October surprise really isn't going to work because most voters are going to have voted before November 3rd. They're going to have voted basically weeks before that. Voting has already started in many states. Many key states have already allowed ballot requests, and they're probably going to be sent in as quickly as possible. So President Trump pulls something at the end. It's really not going to do anything. He's going to have to do it a little bit earlier. But I think that we have seen a sort of October surprise from the Democrats recently. Just a couple of days ago, New York Times leaked Donald Trump's his tax returns. And I know I'm getting off to a tangent right now. I'm going to talk about these three states in more detail in just a couple of moments here. But I want to talk about this. I think that this is pretty important to consider because President Trump literally paid $1,500 in taxes in 15 years up until 2017, I believe. He literally paid $1,500 in taxes. 10 out of those 15 years, he did not pay any taxes at all. He paid $750 in taxes in the year that he ran for president. In 2016, Donald Trump paid $750 in taxes. And, whether or not he used loopholes to get through this and whether or not it was legal really is still up for debate. But, he didn't pay, he has been paying his taxes. Either he isn't as rich as he claims to be, or he's been losing. He's been able to say that he's had, huge losses every single year, which is why he's been able to evade a lot of the taxes. And whether or not this is true, we just still don't know. But it's not a good look for him because every single candidate after Richard Nixon, who also evaded his taxes and of course had to resign, but we're not going to see this from this president clearly as he has too much of an ego to do that. But for Richard Nixon, every single candidate for president ever after that, with the exception of Donald Trump, released his taxes. And I think that Clinton's email thing really did benefit him because it was something that allowed him to take the attention off of his taxes and onto Clinton's emails, which in my opinion were more important because her emails did contain classified information. Donald Trump just didn't pay the money he was supposed to for over a decade. And, that is pretty bad, but Clinton's emails really could have caused a lot of trouble for our country if they were leaked and, before anyone actually found out. So now after that, I want to talk about these three states and just taking a look at the numbers here. So I can give all these other states to Trump. I actually am going to do that just so you can see how well Biden is and how well off he is in this election. I'm going to give Donald Trump every other state with the exception of these three states. I don't know why I gave him Pennsylvania, but every other state I'm going to give to Donald Trump, and I'm going to use the lean color so you guys can tell which states that I have given to the president. So these three states, Donald Trump is still at 270 electoral votes. He needs to win one of these states. I don't think he's going to. I don't think he's going to win. He's even going to win Arizona or Florida. So looking at these three states, first he's hit Wisconsin. Joe Biden leads by 6.8%. And what's notable here is not that he leads by 6.8%. Clinton led by a similar margin in 2016. But he's been leading consistently this entire time. If we compare to 2016, as you can see, it was a little bit more up and down. I mean, she went all the way down to a 3.5% lead. She led by 6.5% on election night. Now, Wisconsin is probably the worst example of the point I'm trying to make, but it still does make my point that Clinton, she was doing well here, but she definitely did do worse. And that was because a lot of the undecided voters at the end of the day, after her email investigation came out that it was going to be restarted once again as the October surprise that the Republicans were planning, on putting out and, really did work. A lot of the voters at the very last minute did switch to voting for Trump. But now that kind of surprise that we'll see in October, the Republicans I think are definitely planning to have is not going to have as large of an effect because most Democrats are not going to vote by mail. So Wisconsin, I mean, it's all right. He's been leading by basically the same margin this entire time. I don't think that the polls since basically May have all been wrong. So also, you have to just think about the fact that if pollsters got the state of Wisconsin wrong in 2016, they definitely would have done something about it. And I do think that polling is more accurate, and Joe Biden is he's just a more charismatic and more popular person. He is literally 15 points more popular than Clinton was 4 years ago. So I think that just because of that, he's going to be able to win in many states that Clinton lost by very narrow margins. So Wisconsin currently polling in a lean margin in favor of the former vice president. The state of Wisconsin, the state of Michigan, 16 electoral votes. Joe Biden leads here by 6.9%. And I mean, it's all right. I think that the states in which Joe Biden has a 50% or basically close to 50% of the vote share already, and I don't think he's going to lose, because it's really the undecided voters that help Trump win, because with just his numbers, he was not going to win in each of these states. But it was those voters that did not vote third party at the end and decided to vote for President Trump that gave him the victory. And President Trump really did not do too much for these people. And he was said he was going to bring back jobs to the Rust Belt. I don't think that really happened. With COVID-19, there's now huge job losses. The most amount of jobs lost during presidency in the last couple of decades, I believe, since the Great Depression, literally. So, it's not a good look for President Trump here in the Rust Belt. Joe Biden leads by 8 and 9%, according to two new Mayor's College polls that came out just a couple of days ago. These are A+ rated pollsters. So Joe Biden is riding high here. He's been riding high in basically all of these states. If you look at Pennsylvania next, let's take a look at, or not Pennsylvania, let's take a look at Pennsylvania next, but currently taking a look at Michigan. Let's take a look at the 2016 numbers for the state of Michigan. Clinton leads by 3.6% on election night, loses by 0.3%. That's a 3.9% swing in favor of President Trump. And as you can see, after the October surprise, you can see Trump's numbers going up. And in the last poll by Trafalgar Group, Trump did win this state. And honestly, I think Trafalgar Group is a scam. They're a right-leaning pollster. They only gained popularity because, they were able to predict it right according to the last poll, I guess. And, election night was later. So if you take a look at the Pennsylvania polls, it came out on the 2nd. Election night was the 7th or 8th, I believe. I believe it was the 8th, actually, in 2016. But looking at these numbers, and basically by the 6th, President Trump's numbers were already climbing up. In October, in mid-October, Clinton led by 11.4%. And on election night, he's only up 3.6%. So you can see that Clinton's numbers were not very stable here in the state of Michigan. And that's basically just a lot of third-party and undecided voters who decided to swing for President Trump last minute. But now, over half, basically half of the third-party voters have said that they're going to vote for President Trump, not President Trump, Vice President Biden, while only 25% are going to vote for Trump. So that's a 2-1 for Biden and Trump. And if Biden wins half of the third-party vote from 2016, he wins all Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. So that's all he needs. And the margin in 2016 was just so small that I think Biden, with just his relative popularity, is going to be able to outperform Clinton just because of that. The state that Trump won by 0.3%. I think Biden can definitely win this back in 2016. And then the state of Pennsylvania, I don't know why I have Pennsylvania up on this right here, but the state of Pennsylvania, currently, Joe Biden is up 5.5%. 49.9 to Trump with 44.4. And two new ABC Washington Post polls added today show Biden up 10 and 9 points in his birth state. And then polls added yesterday from Siena College and the New York Times Upshot, Biden plus 9%. In the state of Pennsylvania, I think the numbers are going to go up for him in a couple of days here. But these three A+ rated pollsters show Biden up 9 and 10 points in his birth state. So, as you can see, the numbers here are also pretty good for Joe Biden. He's been riding high here as well, pretty consistent for the former vice president. Looking at 2016, you can see that Clinton only led by 2.1% on election night. And what we can see is that in the end of October, Clinton's numbers just fell and Trump's numbers just, went up. And, at the end, you do see signs where Trump really was able to jump up quite a bit in these states. 2020, because of all the mail-in voting, I don't think it's going to occur this time around. And so I think that honestly, if the election was held just 2 weeks earlier in 2016, Clinton would have prevailed the victor. But because of, the surprise that the Republicans had in store for Clinton in the last days up until election night, I think that really did cause her to lose the election. And then taking a look at the absentee ballots in 2020, this is absentee ballots, same thing as mail-in ballots. As you can see, there has already been, already 34% of all registered voters have already requested a ballot, and 70% of registered voters voted in 2016. As you can see, taking a look at this is very good in terms of, I guess, just the Democratic Party, because if you take a look down here, most Democrats request ballots, Republicans do not. I think that most Republicans are almost definitely going to vote in person, just because President Trump, I mean, he's trying to promote this whole COVID-19 doesn't exist kind of thing. So taking a look at this, Florida, 5 million votes, really this does not show a clear picture. Taking a look at the percentage compared to 2016, this is what's really surprising. Pennsylvania, there is a 2,000% uptick in the amount of ballots requested in the state already. So this line right here was the amount that was requested in 2016 during the entire election, and this is, how many ballots have been requested already. So we have over a month to go, and there's already a 2,000% increase in Pennsylvania. There's a 654% increase in Wisconsin. Michigan, 213%. There was a higher a large amount of mail-in ballots from the state of Michigan 4 years ago. 2016 requests in Florida were also pretty high, but Florida is up 150%. And taking a look at these numbers here, Pennsylvania, 66% of, the 2,000% higher compared to 2016. Out of the 2,002 million votes, 66% of those are from Democrats. Maine, 57%, Iowa, 54%, North Carolina, 49%. Very good sign that Democrats might be able to flip the state. Pennsylvania, 46%. There's no party and other voters, I think, are going to swing for Joe Biden, as the polls have indicated basically this entire time. Joe Biden is expected to win the no party / other voters, the third party voters that, Joe Biden is currently expected to win. So Republicans, very small share of the mail-in ballots that have already been requested. So these other two states I'm going to put in for Joe Biden and giving him 270 electoral votes, 278. So really in this video, I just want to talk about that these three states are the ones that matter, and that even if Trump does very well in these states, I do not see him winning these three states, which is why I am very confident that President Trump is not going to win the 2020 presidential election unless something really major does happen. And so yeah, that is it for this video. I'm basically losing my voice at this point. Leave a like down below if you enjoyed it, as well as consider subscribing to my channel, and leave your thoughts down below along with any video suggestions for videos you'd like to see from me in the future, and I will see you guys all in the next video.